Well, today I'm at one of the most spectacular sites of National Socialist Germany. It's called the Thingstätte or Thingplatz. Built in 1934 to 1935, it encapsulates probably one of the most important religious centres of the National Socialist state. Now, just behind me is the beautiful city of Heidelberg with its castles, monasteries, shopping malls, wealthy Germans walking up and down buying lots of lovely things. But on the top of this mountain, which is the religious mountain, we have thousands of years of religious history, not just Christian history, but going way back to the Celtic era. When Hitler finally did come to power in 1933, it had taken him many years to get there. There was the failed Munich beer hall putsch in 1923, the subsequent imprisonment, and thereafter he spent many years attempting to convince the German nation to reawaken Germany. Deutschland erwache was a great call cry of the National Socialists. So when he did finally get into power through the democratic process in 1933, he immediately began on a whole range of programs to reinvigorate a downtrodden Germany. We just had the Great Depression. People were literally starving on the streets. There was street fighting between the National Socialists, the Socialists, the Communists of the time. Things were pretty rough. And what Hitler promised was order, jobs, security. One of the first things he did is build a National Museum of the Arts. And he also began building cultural and religious centres like the one that we're about to see. But he had some stifling competition because Heidelberg, like a lot of areas in Germany, are full of history, of course. We have age-old monasteries, we have amazing castles here in this city, we have Studentenverbindungen, or very old, prestigious university fraternities. Very impressive sites. So, to put his stamp on the place, he chose this old Celtic hill and he built the Thingstätte. The Thingplatz or the Thingstätte was a place where everybody would meet, would assemble. Laws would be written, would be reviewed, judgments were made. And what Hitler was trying to do here is he was trying to say to the reawakened people of Germany to come back to their roots, to come back away from pseudo-Jewish Christian doctrines, back to the old Germanic, Teutonic, Celtic doctrines of the past. He did that through architecture. Well, there's certainly a great sense of expectation as you're walking up this very nice mountain. One can't help but wonder what the members of the Hitler Youth, the young boys and girls, would have been feeling and thinking as they made their way up this ancient pilgrimage site. They would have been wearing their Hitler Youth uniforms, would have had their black daggers, their leather belts, their ancient runes inscribed within the blades of the paraphernalia that went with it. And on very young shoulders, they were told they bore a rather unique privilege to be part of a master race that had its lineage go back many thousands of years. Arriving at this place, one is immediately struck by its size and grandeur. Equally, one is overcome with a sense of loss, of frustration, and of great sorrow, for we know now what awaited the young men and women just years after the first 1935 consecration, and the horrors yet to come. Well, although a temple built in the early 20th century, this Thingplatz temple of the National Socialists did resemble the Norse or Aryan temples of days past. With a north-south axis, this complex pointed to the ancient island of Thule, the birthplace of the mythical Aryan master race. Well, this is it, the Thingstätte of Heidelberg, Germany. Place of Nazi rallies of SA troops, SS troops. And as Dr. Goebbels said in his opening speech during the consecration of 1935 of this place, he said, "This is the new church of the Reich, or the Empire." And like Norse temples before it, this modern Norse temple was integrated into its natural environment, a little bit like Stonehenge was. This place is a lot more than that. Germans never considered themselves as Germans first and foremost. Germans then and now consider themselves, as part of their rich history, on regional differences. So a person from Saxony will consider themselves a Saxon. A person from Bavaria will consider themselves a Bavarian before they consider themselves a person of the German nation. And Hitler was going to change that. He needed to. And it was in places like this that he managed to do so. Because in a place like this, everyone is equal. And quite common of Norse or Scandinavian temples, the very focus of the central part of the temple is a round area. And that very important symbolic piece of architecture means we're all equal and we're all one. In the very ancient assemblies of the Viking things, one person had one vote, and they would sit around in a circle and they would elect amongst another one speaker who would recite the laws of the states and lands. So this Thingplatz in Heidelberg echoes not only a prestigious, successful past going back thousands of years, but also sets the ground for a new German beginning, a reunited Germany, not based on class, on the upper class or lower class, not based on labour differences, not based on where you come from, whether it's South Germany or North Germany, no. In places like this, the youth of the new National Socialist Germany were being indoctrinated into the new National Socialist cultural and religious ideal of one empire, one people, under a single centralized form of leadership.
Over 1,200 Thing assemblies were to be built in the Third Reich, but only about 30 were ever realized. Hitler's dream to reunite all Germans succeeded, as did the propaganda and myths of the Nazi state. In Nazi Germany there was no political opposition and no choice. Any resistance or opposition met with serious consequences. The forging of this new, united and formidable military power led, 4 years later, on the embarking on a war, which by 1945 had decimated an entire nation, its infrastructure and people.